Now this is a video with further camouflage tests, but I also wanted just to test this jacket as I mentioned it in the grey man sort of camouflage video, and it does work surprisingly well here, especially at a distance, even though it doesn't quite match the colours of the environment around it. But now we're going to move on to the actual camouflages and have a look at those. Now, as is expected, the East German Strichtarn seems to work well in any environment it's in, although it's sort of a jack of all trades, master of none camouflage. What did surprise me again is the multi-terrain pattern trousers worked very well in all the photographs I took, and they really do blend in well with the environment. Now the German Flecktarn camouflage ends up working really well in the autumn, and I think you'll agree with me as more of these tests go on, you'll see it seems to work better and better with each picture. In some of the pictures coming up I've even had to digitally enhance them to make it obvious where the Flecktarn is at a distance, as here it only looks a bit like a blur on the image, and then when I enhance it it's still fairly difficult to see. Now this picture was only taken from about 10 or 20 yards away, and it's almost impossible to see me wearing the Flecktarn, so I'm going to leave this picture on for a few moments and then switch to the enhanced picture, but even then it's still really difficult to make it out. Now the multi-terrain pattern trousers show up a bit easier in this picture, they're a bit grey. You should also be able to see the bottom of the coat, but the Flecktarn does blend incredibly well in this picture. Now I am actually hiding in this picture, I'm a bit further back into the tree line. I'm in frame, but it's so hard to make me out. Even with an enhanced picture I won't bother doing it, but the Flecktarn really does do well in autumn colours, especially when a camera can't quite focus on it. Now some more shots of the Flecktarn getting further and further away, and I'm sure you'll agree when there's a bit of foreground foliage in front of it and there's background foliage to break up the human shape, it becomes nearly impossible to make out with the naked eye again. Now here's the zoomed in picture, and you'll just about be able to see the human outline in the middle of the frame, but it's not very obvious. Here's the enhanced picture with the colours saturated, and it becomes a bit more easier to see. Here are the same tests carried out with the Strichtarn, and while the Strichtarn doesn't work quite as well as the Flecktarn because it doesn't really have a disruptive pattern on it, it still blends in very well colour wise. Now this is where things get interesting. It's starting to get darker now in the evenings due to it being winter, and as the camera gets further and further away, the last picture was taken with the camera on a setting that mimicked the kind of real brightness you'd see with your eye, and you'll be able to see now all of a sudden I've vanished. I'm in the exact same spot, and I'll zoom in on it here, but it's almost impossible to make out anything but a slight blur. Even in the enhanced picture it's still very hard to actually see I'm there. And another similar set of shots once we get to the last picture, although the camera settings have made the photos appear a bit brighter this time. Once you get to the last picture, even on the zoomed in photo, it's actually quite hard to work out there's somebody there unless you can make out the shape of the human silhouette. Now here I am standing inside a hedgerow, or just into a hedgerow, and as it's getting darker, as mentioned before, as the camera zooms out more and more, it's really hard to pick up details of the human being there, and it ends up being only obvious I'm there because the MTP trousers end up looking a bit greyer and lighter than the surrounding area. And this bit was tested with the Strichtarn as well, the Flecktarn coat's just hanging from the bushes there, but as the camera gets further and further out, the camouflage does seem to blend quite well colour-wise, and although it's easier to see than a Flecktarn, it's still not really very obvious somebody's there from a distance. Now the human eye doesn't work exactly like a camera when it comes to focus, but hopefully this video does illustrate how well camouflages can work when the light conditions start getting darker, so it's harder for the eye to make out detail, and there's other stuff in front of the camouflage that helps break up its shape and draw focus away from it. For example, in the Flecktarn pictures where it's in really good colours and sort of slightly deeper into the bushes, it becomes almost impossible to see with the eye when the lighting isn't just right. And a funny note is my friend Max, who was taking these photos, had to get me to wave my arm at him a few times, because when I walked off into the distance he actually lost sight of me and couldn't see me on the camera viewfinder because of how well some of these camouflages actually work. So if you like these, stay tuned for more camouflage videos. I'll be testing these same camos out in winter and spring and summer as well.